8 people were killed Wednesday when a transit employee opened fire at a light rail yard in San Jose, California, the latest in what has become an all-too-common occurrence in the U.S. All 8 were employees of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, or VTA. The gunman, a fellow VTA employee, took his own life, apparently when he became aware that police were closing in on him. Local media outlets identified him as 57-year-old Samuel Cassidy, a maintenance worker. The shooting took place just before 7 a.m. Pacific time. VTA Chairman Glenn Hendricks said it had occurred in the maintenance yard. Officials said a bomb squad was searching the yard after at least one explosive device was found. Authorities also responded to a fire at the home of the suspect that erupted at about the same time as the shooting.
Now, an investigation by the Association Press News Agency has revealed the Myanmar junta's use of dead bodies to terrorize citizens into submission. The investigation uncovers the military's practice of clearing away bodies of people shot dead by security forces, often in broad daylight, to instill a sense of fear among people. Activists say more than 800 people have been killed since protests began in February against the military's takeover.
Images like this circulating on social media all show something similar. Security forces taking away bodies of people who were shot. Such unusual scenes have started to become a pattern. And it happens out in the open during the day. Often filmed, then shared on social media.
Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko accused the West on Wednesday of trying to use the diversion of a Ryanair plane to wage hybrid war against him, and said the journalist pulled off the plane had been plotting a rebellion. In his first public speech since the incident, Lukashenko had this to say to Parliament.
As we predicted, our ill wishes from outside the country and from inside the country changed their methods of attack on the state. They have crossed many red lines and have abandoned common sense and human morals. This is not information warfare anymore. This is modern hybrid warfare. We must do everything to prevent it from becoming a real war.
The journalist, Roman Protasevich, was shown on state TV on Monday confessing to organizing demonstrations. Speaking to a Polish broadcaster, his mother Natalia said he's being tortured. She said his left jaw looked swollen and that his teeth and nose were broken and covered with makeup.
Please, world, stand up and help, I beg you, because they will kill him. They will kill him.
Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Idlib in northwestern Syria to denounce the ongoing presidential elections held on Wednesday. Protesters called the elections farcical and illegitimate. Carrying the Syrian opposition flag, placards, banners and posters, they dubbed the elections a charade. Protesters raised banners describing Assad as a war criminal and chanted, calling him the enemy of God.
In a landmark ruling, a Dutch court Wednesday ordered Royal Dutch Shell to reduce carbon emissions by 45% by the year 2030. A ruling hailed by plaintiffs as a huge win in the fight against climate change. Shell immediately said it would appeal. The ruling comes amid rising pressure from investors, activists, and governments on energy giants to shift away from fossil fuels and rapidly ramp up investments in renewable energy. Outside the courthouse in The Hague, a list of thousands of names of those calling on Shell to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, while inside the court, Judge Larissa Alwyn read out the first-of-its-kind ruling.
The court orders Royal Dutch Shell, by means of its corporate policy, to reduce its CO2 emissions by 45% by 2030.
there were no grounds for Mr. Zuma's appeal against that cost order that was made by the North Gauteng High Court when he sought to review and set aside the Public Protector's State of Capture report. The court at the time described his litigation as being recklessly founded and appropriately awarded a personal cost order against Mr. Zuma. And he filed no papers in the Constitutional Court. He treated the Constitutional Court with contempt, effectively, and it's therefore not surprising that the court has struck his appeal from the roll and added an additional cost order to Mr. Zuma.
Moving on, after Cyclone Yaas, another powerful cyclone named Yaas is lashing eastern India, damaging property and rendering thousands homeless. Now, the cyclonic storm has weakened into a deep depression and is now moving northwestwards and weakening gradually into a depression during the next 12 hours. Barely a week after Cyclone Yaas claimed at least 155 lives, Cyclone Yaas has forced the evacuation of more than 1.5 million people in the eastern states of West Bengal and Odisha. According to reports, at least 5 people were killed. National Disaster Response Force personnel and regional rapid action forces used boats to evacuate people stranded amid swollen water bodies. Yaas has moved inland towards the stage of Jharkhand, easing into a deep depression but bringing heavy rainfalls along.